regen medicine as a field, we have to understand that a lot of it, at least on what concerns to tissue and organ engineering, is still in its infancy. There's not a lot of these types of products out there yet. Cell therapies have been there for a longer time, considering hematopoietic stem cell transplant or bone marrow transplants, as we call them. So this is the first big example and the first most successful, I would say, case of regenerative medicine. Even if you applied it in a lot of cases in cancer patients, there's still a subset of patients where you use this as really a regenerative medicine in anemias, etc. So on all those, you're really trying to recover the hematopoietic stem cell system rather than cure cancer. And in this regard, so I think we're taking big steps forward, trying to implement more cell therapies to different types of diseases and conditions, and bringing in and a good example, for example, is tissue engineered skin, tissue engineered blood vessels. So we're bringing this into the clinic and trying step by step, getting that sense, that clinical sense that you can only have after transplanting quite a lot of patients, to understand how these things work, what are the issues that we still have, what do we need to improve. So this is, I think, where we are. But I think the prospects are really good, because the more technologies hit the market, the more diseases, the more conditions treating, the bigger the clinical experience that our doctors, engineers, pharmacists are going to get. And I think with this increasing critical mass, I think the next 10 years are really going to be interesting in the field. Interesting because I think we're getting this momentum. It's true that we've been affected by several financial crises. I remember the Great Recession, and now COVID, which we don't know yet what are the financial issues. So all this always affects the implementation of novel technologies. But I think the medical field in general understands that this is not only a way to get better treatments to patients, but also to save money. Because rather than having chronic patients on a pill or on a treatment every week, you now go in, you treat with cells or a tissue, the lost condition, the disease, and hopefully, you get the patient treated for a lot longer time. So I think this is really the prospects where we are. It's really changing modern medicine as we see it, and converting it into something that actually cures diseases and not maintain them. And I think this is really where we want to go, and where I think, shortly, I hope in the future, we're going to be. I think there's basically three things you always need to tackle if you want to get a certain therapy that is deemed successful into the market or into the patients. So the first one is the technical challenges. So organ bioengineering, as I said before, you have really the revascularization, the large scale expansion of different cells. So this is the technical issues, but there's also a regulatory issue. And this is this applies also to drugs, where you need to make sure that whatever you want to get into the patient is first safe, and then is effective. And this is something that for regenerative medicine, so we're still doing a lot of the clinical research, in most cases, even preclinical research, trying to understand, so how can we make these things safe, and how can we make them actually more effective? So this is, I think, where we are. So it's in this regulatory realm. So we need to be able to streamline some of our efforts to try to make it happen a little quicker than what we've been able to do. I think this comes also for a lot of the novelty of these types of products. So this is not the regular drug where the path to market is pretty well established. So here you have sometimes combinations of very new technologies that we still don't know actually how they might work for the patient. And this is, I think, sometimes a difficulty also of regulatory agencies. So the regulatory aspect is, I think it's an important one to make this happen a little bit more quicker. And the other one is the financial side of it. So most of these regenerative therapies, they're not cheap, and not cheap as a drug. because you're basically putting together new technologies that still have a higher sticker price, and that costs more money. This is really how it goes. There's a lot more specialties on these things, and the price you pay for it, it's really high. So if this financial part of it is not in place, and this is why I mentioned, the financial crisis that we had and now COVID, I think this is going to take longer than what we anticipated. So again, it's the technical issues, it's the regulatory environment, and it's really the financial availability or the financial the funding. I think if we're able to get these three things together and streamline towards the goal of getting these therapies as soon as possible into the market, by the initiative of governments, non-profits, foundations, I think we're going to be able to get this in the next 10 years. We're going to see a lot of these regenerative medicine therapies hitting the market and the patients.